All right, number 4 now. I'm going to venture a wild guess and say that any dislikes that this video gets, this point is where they're probably going to start rolling in. Necroticism, which is the band's 3rd album, one of their most beloved and most influential, but for me personally, massively overrated. To me, this is Carcass's only straight-ahead death metal album, so it shares a lot of the characteristics of that early death metal scene, like a lot of the albums that were made at Morrisound Studios in Florida, for example. We could take Cause of Death, or we could take that first Massacre album, From Beyond. We could take those as our main comparison points here. And that's actually what my issue with this album is that it shares a lot of the negative traits of a lot of those other albums. The completely unnecessarily long songs with these meandering, really loose song structures. You have these repetitive, robotic chugga 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 riffs where it's just literally just sped up a little bit. You have a completely monochromatic emotional palette to draw from. It's just one fucking scowl for 40 minutes. In my book, these are all things that death metal would improve on massively in just the next few years. So this album might have been really, really important for its time, but it just does not hit as hard now as it would have in the early 90s. And when you consider it in the context of Carcass's entire catalog, Necroticism kind of exists in this gulf in the middle, where it's not nearly as extreme or as punishing as those first 2 records, but it's also not as melodic as what would come next. So it kind of like falls through the cracks in a way. And also, I've just never been able to shake this feeling that all of the fucking praise that is heaped onto Necroticism year after year is all sort of a neighborhood effect for how unbelievably perfect the song Incarnated Solvent Abuse is, which is the album's centerpiece track and quite literally a top 10 death metal song of all time. This song is just a fucking avalanche of mind-blowing fucking riffs. They just keep coming and coming and coming and coming. And just when you think this fucking song is just out of gas, you get hit with that fucking China breakdown at the end there. It's just, it really is a perfect death metal song, and I think a lot of the love for this album is just kind of, you think about that song, that's the first thing you think of when you think of Necroticism. But when you actually dissect like the meat of it, there are some really overly long songs in here that just go on and on, like Carney's Cacophony or the opener In Propagation. It's not all it's hyped up to be as an album, especially when we listen to it 30 plus years later.